Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DiFirio. I am your host for the show, and I'm always happy to have you here. If you're new to Keys to the Shop, subscribe to the show, and then also share these episodes on social media, share it around town, and rate and review the show with 5 stars on all the platforms. That'd be great. Thank you. Now, Keys to the Shop, by the way, also does consulting and coaching. If you want somebody to walk alongside you in helping you level up and refine and just bring in more excellence into your operations, into your culture, the quality and quality control and training. There's a lot of ways we've worked with our clients over the past 8 years, and I feel like it would just be great to have a conversation about it. If you thought about hiring a coach or a consultant and it just felt too distant for you, it's as easy as simply reaching out over email to chris@keystotheshop.com. Or, in the show notes, there's a place for you to click and it'll just bring you to a discovery call scheduler. And then, you can fill that out and we'll talk then. So again, for Keys to the Shop Consulting, reach out, chris@keystotheshop.com. Now, today's episode is brought to you by the Pacific Barista Series and also Arto Brick. And I'm going to talk more about both of those wonderful companies later in the episode. But for right now, I want to jump into our content for today. And, the thing about this world of coffee shops that has long fascinated me, I think, is the idea that it is multifaceted. It has to work together just right for that singular moment of enjoyment. And what drives me to create this show and work with people, and maybe it drives you too, is this constant curiosity of how can we get out of our own way? How can we remove impediments for enjoyment? In the past, we've talked about how there's this white noise that happens in the cafe environment where customers expect tables to be dirty, baristas to be aloof, bathrooms to smell. Whatever it is that they've kind of gotten used to, that's the white noise. And if you decide that you're going to be the cafe to eliminate a bunch of those things, you stand out simply by not having them. By having the opposite, but the lack of that particular thing that they know they don't like, but they feel it's inescapable, you helping them escape the cycle of just negative experiences, dysfunction is huge. And so that also applies to the way that baristas and the managers and trainers, people that help work behind the bar to help the bar work. That's how they feel about working in coffee. What are the things that need to be removed for them to actually be successful in the work? And that's what we're going to talk about today, is what it means to actually facilitate the success of the people who work in the shop. Now, first, success has a couple of different parts to it. Success is the success of the company. Sure, you want to be profitable. You want the standards and the product of the experience to be what it should be. Success also is what you expect people to do to produce that. They have successfully created that latte. As a result of their training, they successfully created a latte. But there's another part of success that needs to be considered here. Helping your baristas and your managers be successful is also, I think, insinuated, fulfilled, and cared for in the work, so that their expectations of themselves and what they want to get from it is met as well. That's when the magic happens. Is it possible for every whim and every desire of a barista entering into a space, their personal little idiosyncrasies of what they think an ideal workplace should be? Is it your responsibility to fulfill those things? Not really. But there are some big pieces that, of course, are. And one of the biggest ones is the communication and setting people up with the ability to, hold on for a second. And so to start this time, I want to talk about what things we can invest our time into to facilitate the success of our businesses, the success of our customers' enjoyment in the cafe through facilitating the success of our baristas and our staff. And it starts first with clear roles and expectations. So clear roles and expectations is way harder to do than it actually sounds, but it's also way easier. It's harder because, like, I forget who said this, communication is the thing that we always assume happens, but doesn't. It doesn't happen. That's the illusion, is that we've actually communicated when we truly haven't. When we come in and we say, well, you're a barista, you make coffee, we have assumed that barista will take on all of the other unspoken things that are in our brain about the barista position. And when they disappoint us, we feel that now we need to come down on them as though they could read our minds. We didn't give clear expectations. And because we were kind of like absent in this process, we'll come down hard on them because it's easier than admitting that we were the ones who perpetrated this lack of clarity. And you'll hear this spoken in certain phraseology like, well, I shouldn't have to tell them, that's just common sense. Or, if they were the right person for the job, they would have done this, that, and the other thing. And the question is, well, did you tell them that that's what you expected them to do? Like, did you tell them that you wanted them to come in 5 minutes early for a shift that they were scheduled for at 6 in the morning, but they came in directly at 6, but it's kind of irking you? Now, that's a whole different ball of wax. And, early is, on time, and on time is late is a little bit stupid, in my opinion. I'll just go out and say it. I don't think that's reasonable. The padding of time needs to be in the favor of the worker, not in the favor of the business, because they're already sacrificing a lot of their life to help you be successful. The least we can do is give them 5 minutes to clock in, and then, oh no, your business is going to go out of business because the person spent 5 minutes putting their bag in their locker and getting their cup filled with water, and you're just looking at your watch going, oh my gosh, it'll be earlier next time. Now, I'm simplifying it, but there is a little bit of this kind of passive aggressive, scared, there's some fear-based management happening because we don't know what the majors are that actually do contribute to a business's downfall. Ironically, one of them is passive aggressive management. And that exists mainly because the things that we need people to do aren't even clear to us. So in order to facilitate the success of a person by being clear with your expectations, you actually have to understand those expectations yourself first. So it starts, as it always tends to do, with the leadership coming into this whole coffee shop game with a plan, and it has developed an understanding of what the expectations should be as possible, and already deciding that they're going to, when necessary, hold people accountable for it, but we're going to facilitate their success by being clear that these are the expectations, and then we're going to give you the next thing, which is time to do the work and tools to do the work. So the means to be successful, not just the expectation of success. Because we stop there a lot of times. We'll say to people, we expect excellence. We want you to be engaged. We want you to be knowledgeable. We want you to be studying the manual and sipping the coffees and writing in your journals. And we give this list of things we want them to do, but all day long, they're making blended beverages and giant milk drinks. And where is all this time for these expectations that we had? The expectations were clearly communicated, but they were unreasonable expectations. So these have to be actually reasonable expectations delivered to people based on how much time and resource we know they have to give to those expectations. Classic example is closing shift. Closing shift just gets dumped on all the time. When it comes to wish lists and kids at Christmas writing to Santa Claus about all the things they wish would happen in their coffee shops, they would write it to the closers first and say, and by the way, can you take the rugs out, and can you beat them with a tennis racket on a clothesline, and can you, vacuum the inside of this weird thing, and just all this stuff. And now we're asking them to, by the way, don't stay any longer than 30 minutes afterwards, even though customers stayed a little bit later and we kind of had to kick them out, and we feel like we might get in trouble for doing even that. So there's all of this, we just said it, low control, or high expectation and low control. High expectation, low control. I don't have the resources and means to do what my managers are asking me to do. They're asking me to get blood from a stone here. I don't understand how I'm supposed to do that. And that's the first level of trust that's built between leadership and people they lead, is that leadership develops a very real sense of empathy and knowing what it's like to work within the systems that they've set up for other people to work in. Managers, you can't manage from an office. You got to manage from the floor. Owners, you can't really manage that well unless you're in the cafe. If you're an owner, even if you've got a general manager and a manager, you still need to know what's going on in the cafes. You got to be there. You got to do the Gemba that is the walk. That's a tenet of Kaizen, where you go on the floor and see what's happening. You've got to develop that empathy and build in a mechanism to your decision making that is a bit of a throttle for the momentum that easily could be, hey, we're the bosses. We're going to make these decisions in this vacuum of informed, knowledge about what's happening in the cafe. We're going to introduce this new line of drinks. We don't even know that, half of the blenders we have leak from the bottom because the O-rings haven't been replaced, something basic like that. And now we're doubling up on the blended beverages, and we haven't even fixed the blenders yet. So it reeks of detachment. It reeks of like, we don't know what's going on, but we think we know enough to expect more from you in that context. That's how you lose people. And that's how you set people up for failure, because they will pull away. They won't be engaged in the process. They will disengage for safety. There'll be this wall between the ignorant owners, the ignorant management, and the baristas who really know what's going on, and frankly, they do, because they work in it. Well, hey everyone, it's Chris, and I will be right back with our episode, but I did want to mention to you a couple of things about our sponsors today. First, we're going to start with Arto Brick. Arto.com, go to Instagram, you can find them at Arto Brick. If you're going to open a coffee shop, or if you're expanding and you're looking for a very unique, to build something beautiful and looking for a unique space, working with Arto Brick for tiles, stonework, and hard surfaces is the move. I think that's it. Going there and talking to Armin on DM on Instagram is a great way to get started here at Arto Brick. But they work with you to help you develop the right materials, to bring the right feel to your coffee shop, to see your vision come to reality. So everything is made in Los Angeles, family-owned, a company with a wonderful legacy. Learn more at arto.com and at Arto Brick. Now, also, we're sponsored today by the Pacific Barista Series. You can find out more information at pacificfoodservice.com, and there you can find where you can get samples of the Barista Series sent to your coffee shop and try it for yourself. It stands up to the heat from steaming. It produces great texture for latte art, and also it has a balance in the cup that keeps the coffee as the focus of the taste experience. And so check them out again, pacificfoodservice.com. They love coffee, they love baristas, they love the community, and that love is what they put into their beverages. So just go there and check them out, pacificfoodservice.com, and let's get right back to our episode here, talking about setting people up for success. And so the first step of trust and to facilitate success is making sure your expectations are based on reality, and that they enter into the ecosystem and the atmosphere of the daily work with deference to the barista's work. And you work with people to do this, not against them or in spite of them to do this, and that you give them the time and the resource and the tools to do it. So with time, we're talking about things like, hey, if it's a new drink, you have enough time to learn how to make it, to understand it. The resource there would be things like recipe cards, SOPs, hands-on, one-on-one, verified coaching and training of the beverage process. This is time and resource classic. Okay, if you come back from Coffee Fest and you have an arsenal now of new beverages, you say this is going to be the my precious, and you give it to them and you say make it, and it doesn't work because they don't. Can't you see we're already making a bunch of other things, right? How does this fit into the menu? I don't know. Make it work. And we've said it on the show before. The ability for baristas to be resourceful is often done in spite of resourcing. It's not a compliment. It's a kind of a backhanded compliment to say to a barista, you're so resourceful, is to say, thank you for covering my butt, because I abdicated my responsibility as a leader to provide you with adequate, clarity and expectations and time and tools to do the work well. So please, would you give me a little bit more of yourself to make up for me not giving enough of myself to you? So yeah, this is a huge thing about setting up people for success. Time and tools and resource. Once you've set the expectations, now it's a reasonable expectation. But even after that, you still have to be paying attention to whether or not that thing, that process, that expectation is holding water. Is it sustainable? It may have been successful for a little bit, but after a while it breaks down despite the best efforts of everybody involved. No hard feelings. It just didn't work out. We thought we were going to have 4 different coffees on the pour over menu. We were all gung-ho. We all thought it would work. It wasn't because we didn't go through this process of learning what resourcing and setting us up for success looks like. But we just realized together that 4 is too many. And it's okay. We're going to adjust. Setting up for success also means adjusting and being able to be flexible with what you've set in motion, and it may not being personal. If it was your baby, if you said it was my project to research what pour over methods we would use, I spent 2 hours looking for the right paper filters, and we got these cool vials for our coffee and everything else, and now we're just going to do 2, it makes me feel personally like I failed. But we have to set good expectations for ourselves too, that we are not perfect. We're going to make mistakes, and this is a discovery process. So if you want to set people up for success, including yourself, be gracious to people, be flexible in the conceiving of, in the implementation, in the refining, and even the walking back of particular initiatives, menu items, expectations, hours, projects, events, all of the actions that we take in the business. So a lot of this comes down to how we personally set our minds to the task. If we are others focused, if we are focused on the success of another person, it's easy for us to come up with creative ways to make that happen. This all kind of naturally, and this is why in the beginning I say it's really difficult, but it's actually pretty easy. If you start from the very first moment thinking, how can I really help these folks win at work? How can I do that? Then your creative energy is not going to be spent only on self-preservation, but it's going to be spent on others realizing their potential through the actions that you take to give them those resources to do that great work according to what you've already set up as a standard in the business. Defining the work, I think, really is the first part of this. And setting people up for success, like we said in our last shift break, you have to choose the right people. And you can't choose the right people unless you know how you want people to work based on habits and characters and behaviors, what the values are. And then you also have to know what the work is that they're going to be engaged in. And that will determine different habits and behaviors and character traits that you are going to have to find valuable if you've got a large, or maybe just a reasonably large menu selection. You're going to have people who are pretty quick. You might want to choose people who can, do a bunch of different stations at one time and switch pretty effortlessly between them, versus a more simple menu. That's going to determine, who you hire. So you've got to know what the work is before you can really make people successful in the work. And you personally should be familiar with this. One of the most frustrating things that can happen to someone is where they are judged for their work by somebody who has never worked in that work. Is it technically fair because that person is above you? Yes. Better would be if there was a manager. So let's say you're the owner and you've never worked the bar. Technically, you're within your right to hold accountable, to judge. You write the checks. I mean, it's your cafe. Technically. Technical does not mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's ethical. Just because it's technically acceptable doesn't mean it's ethically acceptable. In my opinion, it only lasts so long before it starts to really backfire. And when I say so long, I mean like really short. You need to have somebody who is a general manager or a manager who is in the midst of the culture to a degree, in the midst of the work, who is your emissary to those people. They are the representative of those standards with empathy, with touch and sight and smell and sound, with the senses, and everybody knows it. But if they see you and you're quote unquote absentee owner, but you're coming in there and doing barista reviews, you have the right in a sense, but no right in another sense. Am I wrong for this? I don't know. I would feel weird about it. I know for a fact that baristas feel weird about it. And when you produce weird feelings in other people, you can blame them all you want and decry, it's not fair because it's my right. But do you want the right work to get done, or you want to be right? You have to choose sometimes. So this is important about how leadership is structured and who gets to be in that position of affirmation, of coaching, of accountability, of resourcing. And so for setting people up for success in the coffee shop, like I said, it can be a little complex, but it becomes easy once you have the right mentality to be creative and use your creative energy on the behalf of others in the work that you're constantly making changes to or tweaks to make them successful in it. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. I think it's important. The work it's classic. We make coffee. There's lots of different ways to make coffee. The tools have changed a little bit, but the basics are there. And so we should be at a better place in coffee now than we are, in my opinion. We have lost a lot of good people in coffee. And we've hired a lot of bad people in coffee. I say bad, like not the right fit. Good people have seen the way that we've managed and led or not led, and they have decided this is not for them. That should bother us. So now it's up to us to craft our operations, to craft our leadership, and to make people successful at work. That makes a business successful in the end, and actually brings more institutional wisdom and momentum and respectability to the coffee house industry that we really need today as we continually strive to show the value of what we do to the world. And so that's what I have to share with you all today. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions or comments, feedback about today's episode, feel free to email chris@keystotheshop.com. Love hearing from you. Was I harsh today? I don't know. Was it? Maybe a little bit. But I'm interested in your thoughts as always. If you're listening to this, you want to jump onto Instagram or to LinkedIn and comment under the post for this, I'd welcome that. Also on YouTube. And don't forget, Keys to the Shop Consulting is available to you to work one-on-one with me to help you build a great coffee shop and to help your existing shop run better, smoother, people first leadership and culture. So let's work together. Chris at keystotheshop.com. And with that, that is the end of the show. Thanks, everybody. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.